You come home after a long day, kick off your shoes, and collapse on the couch. 5 minutes later, you realize your left sock is gone. Not both socks, just the left one. You look around, and there he is, your dog, sitting 3 feet away with that sock dangling from his mouth, tail wagging like he just won a championship. He's not chewing it, he's not running. He's just holding it, looking at you, waiting. And somehow, despite yourself, you smile. Because there's something weirdly charming about this ridiculous little thief you've chosen to share your life with. But if you've ever stopped to wonder what is actually going on inside that furry head when your dog grabs your glasses, buries your TV remote, or sprints away with your underwear, the answer goes much deeper than simple mischief. The psychology behind dogs stealing things is one of the most fascinating windows into how the canine mind actually works. And once you understand it, you'll never look at your dog the same way again. Let's start at the very beginning, which is evolution. Dogs didn't always live in houses. For tens of thousands of years before domestication, their ancestors were scavengers and opportunistic hunters living in social groups. In that world, grabbing something valuable and keeping it close was a survival strategy. Food, bones, objects with interesting smells, these were resources worth holding on to. The instinct to snatch something desirable and either consume it, guard it, or move it somewhere safe is not a personality flaw. It is an ancient behavioral program running in the background of every single dog on the planet, from the most pampered French bulldog to the most disciplined working shepherd. Domestication softened many of their wild instincts, but it didn't erase them. So when your Labrador grabs your phone charger and trots proudly down the hallway, part of what you're watching is a very old animal doing a very old thing in a very modern environment. Now here's where it gets psychologically interesting. Not all stealing is the same behavior. Dogs steal things for several distinct psychological reasons, and the reason matters enormously if you want to understand your dog rather than just get frustrated with him. The most common reason, and the one that almost nobody talks about honestly, is attention. Pure, simple, powerful attention-seeking. Dogs are extraordinarily good at reading human behavior, and they learn cause and effect faster than most people give them credit for. Think about what happens the moment your dog grabs something he shouldn't have. You react. Your voice changes. You stand up. You chase him. You negotiate with him. You make eye contact. You engage completely and immediately. For a dog who has been lying on the floor for 3 hours while you stare at a screen, that response is not a punishment. It's a jackpot. In behavioral psychology, this is called reinforcement, and it doesn't matter at all whether the attention is positive or negative. Attention is attention. Engagement is engagement. From the dog's perspective, the equation is simple. Grab the thing, human comes alive. They're not being manipulative in a calculating human way, they're doing what works. And the tragic irony is that every time you leap up and chase your dog around the coffee table trying to get your wallet back, you are teaching him, very clearly, that stealing your wallet is an excellent strategy for getting you to interact with him. This attention-seeking behavior is particularly strong in dogs who don't get enough mental and physical stimulation during the day. A bored dog is a dog whose brain is constantly searching for something to do, something to engage with, something that creates a response in their environment. Stealing is stimulating. It creates movement, sound, emotion, and interaction. For a dog who has been alone or understimulated, it might be the most exciting thing that happens all day. And once they discover it works, the behavior gets stored as a reliable strategy. But there's another layer here that's even more emotionally significant, and it has to do with connection. Dogs are bonded animals. They don't just tolerate living with humans. They are psychologically wired to seek proximity and connection with the people they love. Your scent, in particular, is one of the most powerful things in your dog's sensory world. When you leave the house, you don't just leave from your dog's perspective. The most important creature in their universe has disappeared, and the only thing that remains is your smell on your belongings. Research has shown that dogs have an extraordinary ability to detect and respond to human scent, and many dogs who steal items specifically target things that belong to their primary person. Shoes, worn socks, shirts from the laundry basket, pillowcases. These aren't random choices. These are the items most saturated with your scent, and when a dog carries them around or curls up with them, there is genuine comfort happening. The behavior is rooted in attachment, in the need to keep something of you close when you're not there. Calling that naughty feels almost cruel when you understand what's actually driving it. There's also the play dimension, which is enormous and often underappreciated. Many dogs steal not because they want the object itself, but because they want what the object triggers, a game. Chase, specifically. Think about how many times your dog has grabbed something, then immediately turned to look at you with bright eyes and a bouncy posture. That is an invitation. That is your dog saying, in the clearest canine body language possible, let's play. Dogs who don't have enough opportunities for interactive play with their humans often develop what you might call creative play-starting strategies. They learn which objects reliably get you off the couch. A boring chew toy in the corner doesn't do it, but your reading glasses? Those work every time. The object is just the tool. The real goal is the game, and more specifically, the time with you. This connects to something behavioral scientists call resource-motivated play, where the possession of a valued item, even a stolen one, gives the dog a sense of power and control in the interaction. In play between dogs, possession matters enormously. The dog who has the toy has status in that moment. When your dog steals your sock and you come after him, the dynamic mirrors a play-chase interaction between dogs where the one being chased has the upper hand. Your dog isn't just having fun, he's experiencing something that feels like a kind of social power, a rare reversal of the usual human-dog dynamic where the human controls everything. Feeding times, walk times, when to come in, when to go out. In that one moment with your stolen sock, the dog is the one in control, and that feels genuinely good to them. Let's talk about what's happening neurologically, because this is where the science gets genuinely muddling. When a dog anticipates doing something exciting, including stealing something, their brain releases dopamine, not when they get the reward, but during the anticipation and the chase itself. The neurological pleasure is in the seeking, not just the getting. This is the same dopamine-driven seeking circuit that exists in human brains and is responsible for everything from healthy motivation to addictive behaviors. For a dog, the moment of grabbing the forbidden object and the electric seconds of being chased trigger a neurochemical response that is genuinely pleasurable. The brain is being rewarded by its own chemistry. This is why simply telling a dog no over and over without addressing the underlying neurological need for stimulation and excitement doesn't actually solve the problem. The behavior is being driven by brain chemistry, not just habit. Certain breeds are dramatically more prone to stealing than others, and this is worth understanding because it removes a lot of unnecessary frustration. Retrievers, Labrador retrievers, golden retrievers, flat-coated retrievers were literally bred for centuries to pick things up and carry them. The behavior is in their genetics as surely as their coat color. Asking a Labrador not to carry things in his mouth is asking him to suppress a core behavioral drive. Similarly, terriers were bred to grab, shake, and dispatch prey. So grabbing objects and running with them taps into a deeply ingrained predatory sequence. Herding breeds often steal and guard objects as part of their broader instinct to control the movement and location of things in their environment. When you understand the breed history, the behavior stops seeming random or defiant and starts making complete evolutionary sense. Puppies have their own specific psychology around stealing, which is different from adult dog stealing in important ways. For puppies, everything is about exploration and learning through the mouth. Dogs experience a huge portion of their world orally. They mouth, carry, chew, and taste as primary ways of gathering information about objects. Puppies in particular are in a critical developmental window where they are mapping their environment, testing boundaries, and discovering which behaviors produce which responses from the humans around them. A puppy who steals something and gets a big dramatic reaction is not just having fun in that moment. He's filing away crucial data about how to generate responses from humans, data that will shape his behavior for years to come. This is why puppy owners are advised to respond to stolen objects with the least drama possible. Every chase, every negotiation, every panicked grab is a lesson the puppy is learning. There is also a subset of stealing behavior that comes from a place of anxiety rather than playfulness or attention-seeking. And it's important to be able to distinguish between the two. Some dogs steal and hoard objects as a coping mechanism for stress. Dogs who have experienced scarcity, whether of food, attention, stability, or safety, sometimes develop compulsive collecting behaviors as a way of managing anxiety. A rescued dog who spent time in an unpredictable environment might hoard shoes, socks, or food items not out of play or mischief, but out of a deep neurological need to feel like they have enough, to feel secure. These dogs typically don't play chase with the stolen items. They often carry them quietly to a specific location, arrange them, and guard them. The energy is very different from a happy Labrador bouncing around with a sock. Recognizing this distinction matters because the response needs to be different. Punishment in these cases can deepen the anxiety and make the behavior worse. What these dogs need is stability, predictability, and the consistent experience that their resources, including attention and safety, are not going to disappear. Resource guarding, which is related but distinct from casual stealing, also has deep psychological roots. Some dogs don't just take things. They take things and then defend them with intense seriousness. This is also evolutionary in origin. In a wild social group, resources were finite and competition was real. The instinct to defend a valued item from others is not aggression in the pathological sense. It is a normal canine behavior that exists on a spectrum. Most dogs show mild, manageable resource guarding. Some develop it into a serious behavioral issue, particularly if they have been punished for it in ways that increased their anxiety around having things taken from them. Counterintuitively, dogs who were frequently forcibly relieved of objects as puppies, with harsh grabs and scolding, often develop stronger guarding behaviors over time, not weaker ones, because the experience of having things taken becomes associated with threat. The relationship between stealing and trust is also deeply important and rarely discussed. Dogs who feel genuinely secure in their relationship with their humans, who trust that their needs will be met and that they won't be punished unpredictably, tend to be easier to trade with, easier to redirect, and less driven to steal compulsively. Dogs who are anxious, uncertain about their status, or in an environment with inconsistent rules often steal more, partly as stimulation, partly as control-seeking, and partly because the interaction around the stolen object is at least a predictable, familiar script in an otherwise confusing social environment. The stealing, paradoxically, can be a relationship behavior, an attempt to engage with you on terms the dog understands. What does all of this mean practically? It means that if your dog steals your things, the answer is almost never about punishment and almost always about understanding what need the stealing is meeting. If it's attention-seeking, the solution is more and better quality attention at times when stealing isn't happening. Teaching the dog that presence and calm behavior also generate connection. If it's boredom and understimulation, the solution is enrichment. Puzzle feeders, training sessions, scent work, more interactive play. If it's a play invitation, the solution is to actually play more on your terms, so that your dog doesn't need to manufacture games. If it's sense-seeking comfort during your absence, providing worn clothing as an acceptable comfort item removes the need to steal. And if it's anxiety-based hoarding, the solution is patient, positive, trust-building over time. The deepest truth underneath all of this is that dogs who steal from you are, in almost every case, dogs who are trying to connect with you. They want your attention, your engagement, your presence, your play. The stolen sock is rarely about the sock. It's about you. It's about the way your face changes when you notice it's gone, the way you get up, the way your voice pitches higher, the way you engage completely and fully in a way you maybe weren't doing 5 minutes ago. Your dog looked at the environment, looked at you, identified the gap between the connection they needed and the connection they had, and found the most reliable tool available to close that gap. That's not bad behavior. That's communication. Imperfect, occasionally maddening, sock-destroying communication, but communication nonetheless. And maybe, just maybe, the best thing you can do when you see your dog trotting toward you with your left shoe in his mouth and that ridiculous gleam in his eye is to pause before you react, recognize what he's actually asking for, and find a way to give it to him that doesn't involve chasing him around the living room for 15 minutes. Because at the end of the day, your dog is trying to tell you something. And the message is actually pretty simple. It's, I want you. Be here with me. Be here with me. Let's do something together. And honestly, for a creature who can't speak a single word of your language, that's a pretty remarkable thing to be able to say.